What's up, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to cover the final assembly of the top end of the engine, getting the cam completely installed, new cam seals, putting the timing belt on it, all timing covers, going to start the relocation of the ABS module, and possibly do the exhaust mod, so to the driver's side header to clear the steering shaft. So I don't know how long this video will be. I don't know how much information is going to be in here as of yet, but right now I'm going to try and be as detailed as I can on what's going on in this video. So hope y'all enjoy. All right, guys. So we're finishing up the assembly of the heads. Terry went and got a new cam seal right there. Went and picked up a new cam seal from the local auto parts store. So we're able to get this head back together. We're getting ready to put the last bearing cap on here, and then I'll be able to set the timing on this thing. So when I first put this thing together, I had to have this thing 180 degrees because that's the only way to get to the service bolt to hold the cams together. So after you put it together, if you look at the back of the cam, I won't be able to show it because of how dark it is, but there's two dots on the back of these gears. So there's a single dot on each one, and then there's a double dot on each one. So I don't know if you can see those double dots, but there's double dots right there next to my finger. And then there's double dots on this one right there. So those were what was lined up. You line up the two double dots, then you bolt the thing together, remove your service bolt out of here. Then you can, I advanced the crankshaft a little bit past 80 degrees. So typically this is supposed to be, you can see the groove cutting the gear right here. It's typically supposed to be right here. I dropped the pistons down a little bit so that I knew that the piston or the valves wouldn't interfere with the pistons. Rotated the camshaft and got it to where both of the single dots are lining up on these two gears, and then got this to where the timing mark is at the top of its stroke right here. When I get the valve cover on here after this bearing, or when I get the bearing cap installed. When I get the front bearing cap installed, I'll be able to set this at the exact timing position. Then I can put the timing belt on the rest of the system. All right, guys, so we just got done getting the timing belt on here, and it was a little bit more difficult than I thought because it's got marks that you got to line up on the timing belt to the marks on the pulleys. You can get it out of sequence if you've got it turned the wrong way or whatever. So we had to play around with it until we got the marks to line up. But essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to mark up, there's a little hash mark on the back of this pulley. You're probably not going to be able to see it, but there's a little hash mark right there, lines up with there. And then on this pulley, there's a little hash mark here that lines up with that T. Then down here, there's a little mark right here, and there's a hash mark in the pulley. Basically the key is pointing right here. But there's also a dot on the bottom pulley, and that's what lines up with the mark on the belt. So once you get all that set, we had to remove the tensioner pulley, get the belt set, and then slide the tensioner pulley in and bolt it in. Now we're going to pull the tensioner pin, and now we're going to rotate the engine twice, make sure all of our marks line back up. All right, guys, so I wound up rechecking myself on that timing, and it was not right. The timing actually goes to the solid line, not the T. So I wound up taking the belt back off, realigning it with the solid line on each of the front bearing caps on the heads, and lining up with the crankshaft. Got it all back in time and got it set. I was reading the book wrong. When you line it up with the T, that's to relieve the pressure off the belt so that you can take it off the gears. So I was reading the book wrong. You line it up with the solid bar on the bearing cap. So I did that. We got the whole top of the motor back together except for the intake manifold. So now I'm going to work on trying to relocate this ABS module in the body. So I'm going to pick up there. All right, guys. So Terry and I were just discussing how we're going to move the ABS module on this in this engine bay, and I really don't want to have to break loose the ABS module. I just really don't want to. I hate having to mess with them. I'd prefer it if I could just move it without having to break things loose. So what we've talked about doing is modifying the original mounting bracket that was on here. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and show you how this original bracket mounts, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so this is the original mounting bracket for the brake module. It sits in there like this. It's got a brace that bolts into the side of the front frame member, and then this bolts into the top and then into the strut tower. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove this piece of the bracket. You can see it's two separate pieces. So we're going to remove that piece. We're also going to remove this piece because it's just spot welded together. And then we're going to drill a hole in the bottom of this thing and bolt it into the original hole that went here, which will, in essence, move the brake booster forward and away from the center of the engine bay by approximately 4 to 5 inches. I'll have to get a measurement on it when I actually drill the hole, but right now it looks like it's going to move about 4 inches forward and about 1.5 inches to the left if you're looking at it from the radiator core support. All right, guys, so now we have the bracket modified. We put a hole in the center right behind the front insulator. This is moving the actuator, the ABS module. It's moving it forward 5.5 inches and over 2 inches. So that's exactly how much it's moving forward and over, 5.5 and 2. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna readdress these lines and straighten them out after I get it mounted into here. All right, so Terry took the exhaust manifold, the driver's side exhaust manifold to work with him and modified it, shortened the tube up. So shorten that up, shrunk it in pretty dang tight, and then cut the flange off the end of it. We're gonna weld an extension tube on there. But it turned out pretty good. So we'll clean it up a little bit and probably put some heat resistant paint on it, and then we'll do a heat wrap on it, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys, so now what I'm getting ready to do is I'm getting ready to try and flatten out these lines. You can see how they have a little S-turn in them. So what I've done is I've taken a 1x4 and I've wedged it in behind all the lines that have a little S-turn in it. So you can see I've got it stopping just below this one. I've already bent this line by hand, so I know they're pretty soft. I already bent this line by hand, so I know they're pretty soft. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this board on the front of here, and then I'm gonna use a C-clamp, and I'm gonna squeeze these together and flatten the lines out. And hopefully it will work without crushing them. Now, I've done this in the past and I have crushed a line before, so you gotta go real slow and keep checking it as you're doing it. Just go little by little. Put pressure on it and get it to flatten out a little bit. Take pressure off and check your lines. Put it back on, put pressure on it, check it again, and just keep doing that until you get them to work themselves flat. So I'll do an update after I get these a little flattened out. All right, everybody, so now you can see I've got the lines a little bit straighter than what they were. I'm getting ready to do what I hope to be my final collapse on these to get them flat. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna try and pull the lines up and shove them back, and I'm gonna spread this angle out a little bit so that I get these to go back to the firewall again. All right, everybody, that didn't take too terribly long. I may still have to modify these a little bit, but that's as straight as I can get these to straighten out, but they're good enough. I'm not pulling on the unit. It's sitting where it's supposed to be in the mounting position that I had chosen for it. Now I'm gonna have to pop this wiring clip out of the strut tower, probably put it right here so that I can hook these up, because you can see they're just a little bit too short now. So, but all I did was pulled up on these hoses and pushed back, and basically stuck my hand right here and pushed up on these while I was pushing back here, and shoved over to the strut tower while I was doing it as well. So I won't know if that's going to clear the way that I want it to clear until I start to fit the engine, but that's where I'm going to leave it right now. So brake boost or ABS controller's been moved forward 5.5 inches, over 2 inches to away from the center of the engine bay. Straighten out the lines and straighten them up to where I can get them back in the original clips. So Before we put the motor in here, I am going to go ahead and switch the throttle cable over to a LS or a GS 400 throttle cable. And that should be it before we start throwing the motor in here. Now, I'm still probably going to have to modify the evap line. And I may still have to tuck these 2 lines over because they're still sticking out a little bit. But they have rubber hoses on them, so they won't be anything to move. I mean, I can actually move the one right now if I really wanted to. I'm probably going to. So, yeah. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hope y'all liked what you watched. I'm going to, hopefully in the next video, I'm going to test fit the transmission, get my dimensions for the transmission adapter plate, show you how I design it, show you how to make bolt patterns and all that stuff. I may even get into how to do the CAD design, but I don't know, that may not interest people, or it may be too confusing for some people because using a CAD system is very difficult if you're not familiar with it. So, but I'm going to get into how I'm going to determine the length of the, or the width of the adapter plate for the bell housing, how the clutch and all that's going to line up. Hopefully we'll be able to get that mounted, get the starter mounted, get the intake manifold mounted on here, and I don't know that we'll get the bell housing like permanently mounted because I'm gonna have to make the adapter plate and shit, but get it to where we can leave the starter bolted on here, and then I can go ahead and start putting the wiring harness on this thing and get it all buttoned up, get everything tied up nice and neat, make it look pretty, and then we'll be ready to do the transmission assembly. Then before we put the motor in the car, we're going to go ahead and do the, I'm going to look at trying to do the clutch pedal addition and a clutch master cylinder and all that stuff. So, I don't know exactly what's going to be in the next video. I'm pretty certain that it's going to be doing the rear main seal on this thing, changing out the flywheel or the flex plate for a flywheel, mounting the 1UZ bell housing, and test fitting the transmission and getting the dimensions for all that. And then I'll go from there. But, if this video helped you out in any way, please, like always, like, comment, share, subscribe, let your friends see what I'm doing, and we can continue to have this channel grow. Thank you for all the new subscribers. I really appreciate the support. And if there's any information that you guys are looking for in specific for this Lexus swap, or anything that you want to see done on this Lexus swap that's been covered on forums or something like that, but you'd prefer to see a video of it, just reach out to me in the comments and I'll do my best to accommodate you. So, yeah, like always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great one.